I'm Matt Hamilton. I'm with the Global Methane Initiative. I'm the co-chair of the Biogas Subcommittee, and also with Environment and Climate Change Canada. So it's great to see you here. This session here is on the role of biogas in a circular economy. And we've got 4 or 5 presentations, I think 1 video presentation and some live presentations as well. And we're going to start things off with a presentation from Jorge Hilbert from Argentina. Jorge?
Thank you, Matthew. Good afternoon to all of you. I'm going to present what is happening down there in Argentina regarding circular economy in agroindustry and agriculture sector. This is the general promotion of renewable energy, the laws we have. One of the big incentive for the deployment of biogas facility was the law regarding 8% of renewable electric energy. We have nearly 50 plants already in operation. There is a newest law on distributed electric energy, and nowadays we are looking at several provincial initiatives in order to promote and enlarge the deployment of biogas sector. So the principal drivers of circular economy cases are the need to lower the carbon footprint results, especially on biofuels for export markets, mainly the European Union. I'm talking about bioethanol and biogas, increasing demand and opportunity for animal products with lower carbon footprint, national incentive programs while they were active, and new perspective at provincial levels. Okay, this is one of the 4 cases we have at farm level, looking at circular economy, where we have feedlots around 3,000 animals. We have a biodigester, and we have mini plants, bioethanol plants that produce 5,000 liters per day. So everything is circular, and the digested goes into the farms. We ended last month a big project with the European Union called DBCO. We invite you to visit. We developed a series of videos where you can go inside these plants and see all the technical details inside. So it's open, it's free. You can go and take a look at this. So this is happening in different provinces. This the QR for visiting those plants I just mentioned. Ways that farmers are adopting the circular concept. We see some on the cooperative systems, some associate as group of farmers investing in agro-industrial transformation of grains, especially when they are far away from the ports. Project developers linked to recent feed-in tariff electric incentives, and independent big farmers. So we were concerned about the impact of the circularity of these plants. So this year we ended up a second study on a biorefinery linked to 3 biogas plants. We look at the importance of synergy in order to reduce emissions and improve carbon footprints, the intelligent use of energy produced, and the reduction of methane emissions. So we took an example in the province of Córdoba. That's a province in the central part of Argentina. It's owned by a group of farmers. There is this biorefinery of cornstarch ethanol that produces DDGS, DGS, and bioethanol. Then there are 3 companies linked to Bio4 on biogas and also a feedlot. So those are the pictures of what you can see in the farming area, industrializing the farming sector. So that's the concept of the whole facility. They got thin stillage and organic residues that are coming from the feedlot. That's the main input for the plant. As output, there is thermal energy that's used in the refinery, electric energy that's used in the refinery, and it's also used into the national grid of the country, and the digested use in the corn plantations. So from the feedlots, you get the manure that also makes a mixture, and the digested is also used partly in the refinery. They are now exporting this concept to other countries. So this is the way we made out all the conjunctions of the 3 biogas plants with the 6 CHP and the production of thermal energy and electric energy and the currents going forwards and backwards. So the methodology we use the European Directive RED II. It has a formula and some credits for using, especially manure coming from animal production. These are the outputs of the plant. You see there the amount of millions of cubic meters per year they produce in biogas, the amount of megawatts they are producing, in red the thermal ones and in blue the electric ones. So the raw biogas emissions in grams of CO2 per megajoule, it's around 1. Then you have the electric energy emissions ranges between 2.3 and 2.6, depending on the biogas plant we are considering, and those are the numbers for the thermal energy output of the plant. Then we compared the emission with the national grid, especially on the electric energy, and we were surprised that they were achieving nearly 100% of reductions. So we are obtaining through the synergy in the circular economy concept nearly carbon neutral electricity coming out from the plants, and also nearly carbon neutral thermal energy that's being used. And also we have a great improvement in the carbon footprint of the product coming from the cornstarch plant. Looking at the efficiency, electric and thermal efficiency, if you add up the 40% plus the 20%, you end up with a 60% of energy efficiency use of the 3 plants. So finally, I wanted to comment you as one of the tools we developed in the DBCO project. We developed a digital matchmaking platform where companies and organizations and farmers and agro-industrial sector can put their needs there or their offers there. It's free of charge. If you are interested to join the platform, just join into the platform and you can upload all your offers or your needs there. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Jorge. Did anybody have any questions they wanted to ask? I think if you do, I'll bring the microphone to you so we can just pick it up in our recording. So any questions for Jorge? I had one actually. I'm curious about the DBCO project. Like how did that come about? Who was the instigator of that digital platform? Was that a partnership, or like where did that come from?
Yes, we were 6 countries from Asia, from Africa, and Argentina from Latin America participating in the European Framework 2020 call for projects. The main one of the objectives of the project was deploying and exporting European technology into different countries. So, and we also develop a South-South cooperation through through the platform, and we presented in the biogas expo in UK and obtained a prize there.
Anybody else have a question? I may do one more if it's okay. You were showing, you're looking at the life cycle of these projects, and you had your diagram showing, all the outputs stuff. When you did the emissions, the life cycle analysis, were you able to look at digest state management, and maybe could comment on that?
Yeah, so we didn't consider either the emissions of the digestate being deployed on the farm or the reduction by the replacement of the fertilizer. This was outside of the scope of the analysis. We think that's our next step with the company. We are looking for not only achieving neutral emissions from the facility, but even looking to obtain electric energy with a negative footprint. No, but to do that, we need a lot of work to do, as we discussed today in the table. No, capturing carbon in soils or replacing nutrients. You have to be very keen in the numbers and follow up the farm for several years. You cannot do it just like that.
Very good. Thank you so much. Yeah. One more question virtually. So here we go.
One person asked, can you please explain the matchmaking process or the project and how you choose the participants?
How we choose the participants of? For the matchmaking. No, it's free. It's open. Anybody can participate in the platform. We have companies from all over the world already uploading their profiles there. I don't remember, 80 or 100 already companies are there. So it's free and it's not restricted.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Jorge. Okay, our next presenter will be Vijay Bharti. Oh, thanks. Yeah, maybe a little round of applause. So Vijay, if you want to come on up. So Vijay is with the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy in India. And I'll just hand over the mic.
Okay, so good afternoon, all of you. Thanks for joining the session. I am Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India. So I will be talking about mainly policy side of Indian government, which promotes biogas projects in India. Right. So this slide is all about India's RE sector, which highlights what is the status of RE sector in India, mainly electricity side. So India has made in recently COP26 to reduce emission intensity of its GDP by 45% by 2030 and achieve about 50% of cumulative electric power by from non-fossil based energy sources from by 2030. So currently, as on June 22, we have already achieved 40% of RE from all the sources of total India's electric capacity. And from electricity generation side, we have around 24%, 25% generation from non-fossil sources. So in India, biogas sector has been promoted since last 40 years, and we have done pretty good job in this sector. There has been policy side very push given by Government of India, and because of the conducive environment and interest from private sector, we have achieved more than 5 millions of household size biogas plants. So what are the drivers behind this success that I'll briefly explain here. So recently, if you see, for promotion of compressed biogas, India has mainly India's central bank, Reserve Bank India, has included compressed biogas project under priority sector lending. And because of that, various banks have developed specific loan products for biogas. So because of this, there's a lot of interest in private sector and entering into this sector. So apart from bank, Government of India has also given particular push to the sector by providing financial incentives. So there has been various programs which are explained here. These programs basically cover 20 to 30% of project cost, which helps in reducing capital cost of developers as well as their reducing their loan amount also. So India's biogas program is the oldest program which has been focusing on small biogas plant. Other program is waste to energy programs that deals with the medium and large scale biogas plants. Other very important scheme is Satat program, which ensures guaranteed offtake of compressed biogas. And apart from these programs, there is such Swachh Bharat mission, that is Clean India mission, and Govardhan mission. These particular schemes provide financial assistance. At the end, you can see if any developer or any project imports some machinery or goods from other country, then there is a special concession on custom duties that can be availed by developer. So this helps in reducing their project cost. So now we have seen that how banks and government has been helping this sector, but on the revenue side, most of projects earlier have failed because there was no revenue stream for these projects. There was no off-takers. So in recent year, like in 2018, we have initiated a scheme or program under which oil marketing companies assure guaranteed offtake of bio-CNG, compressed bio-CNG. So, and these companies offer a fixed minimum price. So minimum price, this is actually rupees 54. That translates into like 0.7, 0.8 USD per kg and plus taxes. So this boosted confidence in the market, because now developers are assured that their bio-CNG generated in the plant can be sold, and their revenue stream can be made freezed. Apart from that, this mixing of compressed biogas into gas grid for domestic as well as transport purposes. So there are a lot of oil marketing companies that those are mixing this gas with natural gas that can be used in vehicle. So these biogas plant generate biogas. Apart from, there is a byproduct that is called biofertilizer, and this biofertilizer has some value, and that affects their financial viability of projects. If it is not sold or not, that product did not get any proper rate, then the financial viability come into trouble. So what government did for this product also, the assured offtake was ensured. So with these two things, there are a lot of confidence in the developer. So okay, so this I already explained, because biogas is offtake by oil marketing companies, and biofertilizer is purchased by fertilizer companies. So with this increased interest in the biogas sector, there are a lot of investment opportunities, because there is a huge potential of biogas sector. And in 2018, India targeted to install 5,000 compressed biogas plants by 2023. And Government of India also mobilized more than 175 million USD for new projects in coming 4 years. And there are a lot of interest of foreign companies also, like German company Verbio has already planned to set up big compressed biogas plants. So if you talk about potential versus achievement in biogas sector in India, this left part talks about household family biogas plants, which are generally 1 to 25 cubic meter biogas plant size. The potential is more than 12 million of plants that can be installed in India. And we have achieved more than 5 millions. And then we have medium and large number. We can see that more than 300 and close to 100. Basically, large projects are installed in industries where agro industries generate a lot of affluent, organic affluent, and the recovery of biogas is done by these plants. Now, apart from these biogas, there is a new sector that is recently have attracted a lot of investors. There is compressed biogas. And in earlier slide, I was talking about 5,000 CBG plants that government of India has planned. Out of 5,000, more approximately 3,500 plants have signed LOIs, and these projects are under installation. So, so we have seen this potential, target, and achievement. So these are few plants that I would like to showcase here. These are very big plants, like generating more than 10 tons of CBG per day. And this is generating like I think 12,000 and 6,000 compressed biogas per day. So this is from my side. Thank you.
Staying here, just get the camera. Thank you very much for that. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to pose? Yeah, I see one in the audience, so I'm just gonna take the microphone out.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. Very interesting. My question is regarding the household biogas plants you mentioned, which is really impressive. I wanted to ask, in addition to providing subsidies to the installation of the biogas plants, is there any incentive on the waste part? Like, do they get any reduction in waste fees, or is there any other incentive in addition to helping them set up the plants? Thank you.
So for any of like household or medium and large scale plant, mainly we are providing financial assistance for setting up and generation of plant. And on the top of that, we are also providing technical assistance also. for family or small size, we are not providing any incentive for consuming or waste side. But we have seen, because of our technical assistant and financial assistant on setting up plant, we have seen a tremendous growth in the sector. I think on a small scale plant, very few countries have done similar task. Right.
I think we have a question online. Yep.
Thanks, Vijay. It was a really great presentation and always interesting to hear what India is doing to support biogas projects. A question, you were mentioning technical assistance at the end there. I know that India has a lot of financial incentives and money available for biogas projects, but can you talk a little bit about the approach to technical assistance? Are you working, like what kind of groups are you working with to provide that technical assistance to communities or agricultural producers or others?
So currently for technical assistant, we have our own we have tied up some institutes. Those are called biogas technology development centers. There are 8 centers like that. Those are situated in top technical institutes. So they provide technical assistance to the developer who is installing the plant. But I think your question was in which I could understand with the bilaterals which are providing such assistance. So currently there is no such bilateral which are providing, or multilateral which are providing such assistance. But I think GMI can play a role here, because apart from this huge success, there are few plants, or those are not numbered plant, but there's such plants which have not performed good or closed because of some operational issues or other issues. They need to restart. We have to identify root cause of why they got closed, and I think GMI can inspect such plant or produce some guidelines or manual for restarting those plants. So I think this is my expectation that I think GMI can play a role here. Yeah.
I think we have one more question in the audience.
Thank you, and thank you, Vijay, for that presentation. I'm going to follow up the question about the household biogas. Are you getting carbon market offsets for reducing for these plants, to help reduce the cost, whether from the voluntary market or the formal market? And then the second thing is, you had mentioned transportation and domestic purposes for other gas, wasn't household. Are you using that for the household? And if so, how are you getting it to the households? How are you doing that mixing? How does that work?
So on your first question on carbon credit, right? So as of now, India has not opened carbon credit for, has not developed any carbon market, because it is under process. I think India will shortly announce a carbon market trading scheme. On the second question, I forgot was the second question. If biogas, okay, yeah. So biogas basically in small scale, because each household has 1 cubic 2 or 3 cubic meter. They have own pipeline and system. They have a stove, and they directly take gas from the digester. But the main question is about large biogas plant. Large biogas like more than 2 ton or 3 ton per day generation capacity. That biogas is compressed biogas, basically is transported through pipeline, gas grid. So wherever there is a pipeline available, that is used. Otherwise, it is transported through cascades. and then dispensing is carried out to dispensing station. So this is how India is progressing in terms of large biogas transportation for, and those large biogas plant biogas is used for transportation sector mainly.
Thank you so much. Any final question? Oh, we have one more. Is that okay, VJ? Okay. We don't want to tire you out.
Thanks. Just a quick one. I wonder, do you have any sense of which is the best value for money, whether the push subsidies or the sort of advanced market commitment subsidies? Which ones are having the biggest impact? And that might, I guess, vary by which scale of producer it's targeted at.
So I think push subsidy and market, it is a matter of if technology is developing or market is not developing, then we need to incentivize through subsidy. So there was a time when India pushed biogas by providing subsidy. Now we can see recently India is pushing towards market. So we are now in transition period. So from subsidy, we are now going through the market.
Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for VJ. That's great. Okay, so next presentation will be a video presentation by Liv Skovsgaard Nielsen, who's from the Danish Energy Agency. She couldn't be here today, but she is here virtually. So,
Agency, and I will be presenting the green transition in the Danish gas system, which actually started already back in 1970s with the first oil crisis, but it didn't have the same progress as, for example, the wind industry until 2014 when a new regulation was introduced. In 2018, it was decided that we should have a green gas strategy, and it was published in December 21. And the strategy is based on a continuous work in parallel with the climate agenda and was finished simultaneously with the power and power to X strategies. Looking at the Danish map, we can see that here are areas that have a dark green. These are the areas that we have currently, but also in the future expect to have the most biomass available for future biogas production. You also see a gas system, which is rather new. Most of it was built already back in 1980s. And then you see a lot of green triangles, of which a lot of them have a black frame, and those are the biogas plants that are upgrading biogas into the gas system. We have had an increasing production of biogas since 2015, and in 21 we reached a goal of 20 petajoule of biomethane, which corresponds to approximately 25% of the total consumption. This has already been taking over, and right now we have approximately 30% of the gas consumed in Denmark is green in the Danish gas system. This is due to an increase in the production of biomethane, but also a decrease in the consumption of gas, primarily in the heat and power sector, but also in some of the other sectors. In the gas sector, we have 9 focus points that can be divided into further 3 categories. First of all, we should be 100% green in the gas system within a reachable time frame, and this means consumption should go down, and at the same time the production of green gas should go up. This also means that gas should only be consumed where alternatives are hard to find, for example the heavy industry, and whereas household and in the heat sector consumption can also be applied for heat pumps. At the same time, we would like the biogas to be affordable. It should continue to be environmentally sustainable, but it should also be economically sustainable in the future, so we don't have to support the biomethane in the future with the Danish subsidies. Finally, the gas system should be adapted to this new green agenda. Looking at the gas consumption, in particular in the 19th and the beginning of the century, we had a huge consumption of gas in the heat and power sector, but also quite a lot of consumption in the individual heating and in the industry. In the future, we expect most of the consumption to be in the industry, whereas in the heat and power sector, we mostly expect to use the gas for backup power. Looking into this projection, the latest projection we have on the gas consumption, this is a projection that only looks at, that is made following what we already have of regulation and the prices that we expected at the time of the 1st of January 2022. Looking into this, we don't see 100% renewable gas in 2035. However, our government has a goal that we should have 100% renewable gas already in 2030, and this is a goal I actually think is possible to reach. Because right now, with the gas prices we see now, we see a lot of consumers, also individual households, that are fleeing away from gas consumption, and at the same time we see a pipeline with a lot of potential new biogas plants that could be built if the prices are right. And regarding the production of the green gases, where do we see most of the production? Well, since 2014 we've seen a significant increase in the production of biogas. And the production of biomethane has been most popular, and one of the reasons for this is the opportunity to take advantage of economy of scale. When biogas is upgraded to the biomethane quality, biogas producers doesn't have to scale after the consumption, but it can optimize the production and scale up according to the input, including transport cost and biomass input. With the development since 2014, biogas plant sizes has increased, and we have seen a professionalization of the biogas sector in Denmark. And what is the reason for this sudden? Well, the reason is a change in the subsidy schemes. Until 2012, biogas was only supported with a feed-in tariff on electricity and on electricity consumption production, but from 2012 it was decided to expand the support types, so biogas could be upgraded, could be used in processes and also for heat and power production, but also with upgrading into the gas grid, achieving a natural gas price and a feed-in tariff and a guarantee of origin. This last support part was absolutely most popular, as you saw before on the graph, and it was so popular that regulators decided to say, okay, maybe actually producers are more competitive than we think, so maybe we should decrease support just a bit. So it was decided to start up, close the current support system for newcomers, and then instead have tenders for biomethane, where biogas producers could enter into the tender with a suggested feed-in tariff. And we'll have 7 succeeding tenders in the coming years, hoping that the required feed-in tariff will decline through the years. Then furthermore, we have the 1st of January this year started a new indirect support with a blending requirement in the transport sector on carbon dioxide reduction, where biomethane can add into this blending requirement if it's not supported already. This is a part of the European regulation. And we expected actually quite a lot of this regulation, but what happened was that, and we don't know for sure, but right in the meanwhile time, we've had these very large price increases, and the prices in 21 and 22 exceeding whatever we've seen the last 10 years. And this really matters something from the biogas producers that are suddenly looking into completely different income potential compared to 2020, where the gas prices were very low. Looking in 2020, a biogas producer could expect something in line less than $1 per cubic meter, and most of the income would come from the support scheme. Whereas in 2022, they can expect an income of more than $3 per cubic meter. And suddenly the primary income comes from the natural gas price, which is almost 80% of the potential income. This is due to the high natural gas prices. It's also because a part of the feed-in premium is inversely correlated with the natural gas price. So with high prices, high natural gas prices, the support level is also lower. Most of the biogas produced in Denmark is based on agricultural residues. However, this is still important we still want to have a sustainable production. This is also why we have little energy crops allowed in the Danish biogas production, and we are even restricting these shares in the future and banning in the very near future the input of maize in the biogas production. Looking for the last 5 years in the input share, we can see almost the same input share in the years going by, but at the same time we see a higher yield in gigajoule per ton output. And one of the primary reasons for this is longer retention times, and also after storages where the digestate is left for a longer time to degas even more before the digestate is left into the fields of the farmers. And this also reduces the methane emissions from the digestate, and at the same time gives a higher income to the biogas producers. And the last part of this presentation is regarding the gas infrastructure for the future. We expect that there will be a shift in focus. So in the first time, in the beginning, these years that we are looking into now, we are looking at increase in biomethane production, and at the same time we need to adjust the system for these new flow patterns from it with a decentral renewable gas production, where we already now see areas with a surplus of biomethane in parts of the grid. And this means that we need to build return facilities that can move the biomethane up from the distribution grid into the transmission system. And at the same time, and then secondly, we need to modify the system for new gases to transport in the system. With the Power-to-X strategy, we soon realized that in order to achieve the flexibility to the power system, which can be gained using electrolyzers, then power prices, when power prices are low, then we need to have a flexible offtake of the produced hydrogen. I just need to say that in the Danish gas energy system, we have a huge amount of wind power. This also means that we really need to have flexibility in the system, and we can gain that from the electrolyzers. However, this should be achieved if we have a flexible production. We also need a flexible offtake of this produced hydrogen, and this could be achieved with a hydrogen grid. But we also soon realized that the existing methane grid is already spoken for the transport of biogas. So therefore, we need probably have a new a parallel grid, or a grid maybe not so extensive, to transport hydrogen, and maybe even other gas grids. In fact, we expect in the future to look into several grids that are going to be in different ways carrying different types of gases in the system. Thank you very much.
So Lisa's of course not here, but we do have her colleague Christian who's with us, and if someone did have a question, he may be able to help us out. Is there any questions? If I could put you on the spot a little, you mind coming? I just had one question for you. Oh, gotcha. Well, maybe I could ask you a question. I'm just curious about, so Denmark has a sort of a dual mandate of trying to increase green gas production, but also trying to reduce overall consumption, it seems. And it seems that predated even the recent run up in prices of natural gas, right? Can you just comment on, yeah, like what drives that sort of desire to do both, and how are they achieving that? Is it through energy, like subsidizing other energy, et cetera?
I think in this sense, biogas plays obviously as most of you probably know, Denmark is, I think it's fair to say, very much a pioneer in terms of integrating renewable energy, such as solar and wind, and of course the wind is not always blowing, and neither is the sun always shining. So for us, you can say biogas plays a role in terms of flexibility into the energy system. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, thanks very much. So maybe another round of applause for Lisa's presentation. Okay, so that's great. So now this will be, I think, the last presentation in this session. So John Haig from the Global LPG Partnership is going to speak to us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. Like other panelists, I'd like to give you my perspective on a future role of biogas, the benefits that could be derived from turning it into bio-LPG, or liquefied petroleum gas, namely propane or butane. Biogas from the decomposition of organic waste adds to the global methane problem. So the broad goal of all here is to transform such waste into a usable, climate-friendly energy source. The waste is composed chiefly of municipal solid waste, or MSW, and agricultural residues. To give you a benchmark of amounts of waste generated, in northern Ghana, its largest city, Tamale, has an estimated population of 950,000, and the Tamale landfill receives about 500 tons of waste a day. Kigali, the capital city of Rwanda, has a population of 1.2 million, and they generate 1,900 tons of waste per day. And amounts are increasing. UNEP projected 244 million tons per year of MSW produced in Africa by 2025, up from 125 million tons per year in 2012, basically doubling. Proper handling and repurposing of such MSW in cities can potentially be an economically feasible activity, with costs reduced by the appropriate design and implementation of the management systems, thus benefiting the circular economy. Biogas is often used for power or in natural gas chains and can be upgraded to pipeline natural gas through separation and then sequestering or emitting the CO2. However, there's another way forward. GTI Energy, based outside of Chicago, is developing a new cool LPG technology to enable the reforming of biogas methane and CO2 into marketable LPG, thus eliminating both methane and CO2 emissions while creating revenue. For the scientists in the room, what happens is a two-step process. First, a proprietary biogas catalyst reforms the methane into syngas, meaning that the biogas does not need to be upgraded to biomethane. Second, an LPG synthesis catalyst converts the syngas into a methanol immediate, while simultaneously and selectively converting the methanol to propane and butane. The cool LPG process can utilize biogas or biosyngas feed, does not require the use of arable land for the feed, has high selectivity to LPG and good yield, has a low carbon footprint, emitting up to 90% fewer carbon emissions than conventional energy, and up to 73% fewer than conventional LPG, and finally is compatible with the future of green hydrogen. Biogas transformed into LPG can also yield substantially more energy than would a biogas, electricity generation, transmission, electric appliance chain. How can bio-LPG be scaled up while meeting SDGs? Bio-LPG or green LPG is chemically the same as traditional LPG and can be included in existing LPG supply chains, thereby avoiding the usual stranded asset problem. And significant investments in LPG infrastructure and consumer equipment are already in place. Converting to LPG-based clean cooking from dirty cooking, wood and charcoal, yields well-evidenced SDG benefits: reduced household air pollution, substantial deforestation mitigation, gender empowerment and safety, elimination of black carbon, and reduction in CO2 emissions from cooking. Producing bio-LPG from local waste reduces the need to use national financial resources for imported LPG and increases the revenue base to help finance waste handling systems. It also unhooks the LPG sourcing cost from the volatility of international LPG market pricing, quantity availability, and shipping capacity. How then should we go about developing bio-LPG projects? Proper feedstock management and waste handling must be carefully planned and coordinated with bio-LPG plant construction. Location of plants near feedstock resources and bio-LPG customers, where possible, makes the most sense. Governments must be positive partners in ensuring that the necessary enabling environment is present through appropriate policies, regulations, and standards, all of which need to be properly carried out and their implementation supervised. GLPGP has been approached by African governments to help out, in part because of our assistance in writing national LPG plans. We're happy that Cameroon has just joined the CCAC, as we're working with that government right now. I would encourage you to go to GLPGP's website to find a detailed paper we led the writing of and published in Energy's magazine entitled Bio-LPG for Clean Cooking in Sub-Saharan Africa: Present and Future Feasibility of Technologies, Feedstocks, Enabling Conditions, and Financing. So what is the timeline for production of bio-LPG at scale using the cool LPG process as an example? By the end of 2024, cool LPG's technical development should be completed, with licensing of qualified public and private sponsors. By 2027, pilot plants would be planned, financed, built, and commissioned. By 2030, broad development of bio-LPG plants would exist with links to waste handling. And by 2050, bio-LPG would be contributing to a modern world cooking strategy as projected by the International Energy Agency. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So do we have any questions for John? I had one.
It was simple on its face. Everybody
Yeah.
understood it.
Yeah, exactly. You talked about national LPG plans. Could
Yeah.
you just elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what do these plans consist of, and who plays a role in developing them?
Right. Yeah. I have to give you a little background, and that is GLPGP, the Global LPG Partnership, was started in 2012 on a request by Kenda Yumkella, who is a senior person at the UN, to basically take on LPG as a project in terms of developing it as a useful, profitable fuel. And so we've been working since 2012 on that to basically organize and then help finance those projects. To do that, you have to develop a national LPG plan you can appreciate in the individual countries. So we have worked in Cameroon, Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and others in helping to draft, if not do most of the writing of those plans, so they could have one conceptual framework in which to build and implement a supply chain for LPG.
That's super, very good. Thanks very much. Thanks, John, and we can give him a round of applause. We'll bring you back by popular demand. Sorry, I didn't know. I didn't see very well there, so.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. And I must admit that I'm hearing about this for the first time. My name is Pacifica Ogola. I work for the Ministry of Environment and Forestry in Kenya as the Director for Climate Change. Earlier on, you spoke about LPG infrastructure that can be used for biogas, and I have two quick questions. The LPG adoption is still very low in Africa, and we really don't have very good or strong infrastructure in the rural areas. So I was wondering how you're going to address that barrier. And the second barrier is on choice of fuels. In most African countries, the fact that the gas is there does not mean that it will be the preferred choice because of the way cooking is done in Africa. Traditionally, there are some foods which must be cooked in a certain way using a certain fuel. So for the uptake to happen, that has to be taken into account, and maybe a lot of awareness done. And then thirdly, affordability issue in terms of pricing. If we are to scale this up, how affordable will it be to the common rural folks? Thank you.
You're absolutely right in the points you make. Your first point, the use of LPG is low. In some countries, it's low single digits. In others, it's in the 20–30%. And that partly depends on whether the government has decided as part of its energy strategy that it's going to adopt LPG, particularly for home cooking. That's really what our focus is. The difficulty also is that international financial institutions, most of them have crossed the Rubicon and have decided that traditional LPG is a fossil fuel, oil and gas related, and therefore they don't want to finance it. They'd rather finance bio-LPG, which is one reason that we're pushing the bio-LPG. And so a lot of these countries wish for organizations like ours to come in, help them write a national LPG plan, and then go out and find the financing for them, because most of them cannot finance from their own budgets. Yeah, second, in terms of the choice of fuels, you're right again when you say there are traditional ways of cooking in several countries that they like to cook in a certain way with wood and charcoal, and therefore LPG is novel and it's something that takes a while to acquire a vested interest in. But I remember when going in Cameroon to a small village to see how they were adopting LPG, and a grandmother came up to me with 2 coins in her hand, and she said, "How can I get LPG?" Because she understood, because I think she'd lost members in her family to pulmonary disease, which is one of the major killers of cooking with wood and charcoal when you have 4 million people dying prematurely every year around the world. Those who have seen it firsthand don't want to see it again. And so if you can indicate to them that LPG is a way of getting around that while still having the quality cooking, then what they'll do is they'll do what's called stacking, which is they'll use LPG for certain things, and then for the traditional pieces that they like to cook with oil, with wood and charcoal, they will use that, and then hopefully they will shift over time toward 100% LPG. I think that addresses your questions. Thank you.
Great, let's go. We got another question from the audience.
Thank you, John. So despite the fact that LPG has the uptake has been slower than many people want, it still is has the widest infrastructure of a clean fuel in Africa. So bio-LPG is a very good idea. I'm wondering if there's a country or a couple of countries that you're expecting to get the most traction first to prove that this works and then expand, or are you trying to reach out to multiple countries at the same time?
If you look in the document in the Energies publication, which is on our website, which I encourage you to do, you'll see what we did was a triage based on 4 different factors. What are the likeliest countries, to adopt, which includes those who've already partially adopted? Do they have a national plan? Do they have the will, etc.? And so we narrowed that down basically to 3, which was Ghana, Kenya, and Rwanda. Although we have a lot of experience in Cameroon and we're working with the government right now, so I would say that's the 4th, which would be the logical players. There are other countries that are much larger that just haven't really gotten around to making a dent in their LPG possibilities.
One more question from Nick Elgar.
Thanks, John. Appreciate the presentation. I admit that I'm new to learning about bio-LPG, but this was a helpful primer to learn more about its potential, which it sounds like it's promising. I was hoping you can help me understand how, if a country or a village or a municipality is looking at this technology when it becomes commercially available, and they're comparing it to, say, biogas. You taking organic feedstocks and creating biogas. How does bio-LPG kind of, how should you look at it? Like, is it used for different options than biogas? Is it, what are maybe some of the benefits, or how would you go about making that decision between, compressing biogas and using that for cooking or applications versus bio-LPG?
Well, to mirror some of what Vijay indicated when you asked the question, or an audience member asked the question, which do you think is more favorable, the government financial assistance or the offtake provisions? It's the same thing with biogas and LPG. A lot of it is affordability. Who is going to be sponsoring it? Do you have private sector follow through? Because if it's up to the government, then the government's going to come up with some national energy plan, and it will decide at that point in time, I think, where available funds might be sourced to help pay for it, because most of them hopefully rely on the private sector, but a lot of it depends on the government itself.
Thanks, John. Any final call for questions from the audience? That's okay. Great. Thanks, John. Let's have a round of applause for John. Okay. Okay. Well, that concludes our session today. Thanks everybody for participating, and I think feel free to check in with any of the speakers, and if you have follow-up questions or want to make a connection, that'd be great. Take care.